It's a pretty short video. Whether it's on Twitch or YouTube, it's probably gonna be both. May not do matches today, but that's because I thought up this stream or video at the last minute, and it is going to be for the hot fixes. Now, the hot fixes, the most recent one, of course, launched about yesterday night, something around that. Despite adding 3 new decks, as you can see, the Panda Strike, the Rat, and the Knight. We also, of course, hit the most annoying deck in the meta, which is Greed. Of course, all the cards here are, most of them are to support the latest, shifting out of the Greed meta. However, although some say that this might have just killed the Greed deck entirely, I think opposite. Greed is still a viable option, but of course you're not going to have Ragnar support. You're going to need to find something else to work with, i.e. Kraxus. Soldier still works in my opinion. Talabos, with the right stuff, he still works. The captains increased the 3 gold. That supports the Kraxus. The Merchant's Estate cost 2. Okay. It may get your games slower to increase the tempo, but Greed is not dead. And although people say it will be, it's not. Greed also works in a separate way, where you're just focusing your time getting out these guys, or like Fenrir, Master at Arms, stuff like that. Greed is not dead. But anyway, let's look at the patch notes and see what has been hit. I mean, first of all, if we're talking about Greed, we have to start with the Ragnar change. Now, Ragnar was the powerhouse of Greed. He, throw him out turn 4, his stats were already at 2/6, and for each gold you get, you're increasing by 1 attack, 1 health. With the Lightning 2, with Temples, this thing was a monster in the Greed. Now, he's being taken out of the equation completely. As you can see, there's no Greed ability, and his Chain Lightning has been increased to 4. So he still can be a powerhouse, but maybe not so much entirely in Greed decks anymore. You might see him somewhere else. His 10 gold makes him hard to drop, but I understand because, these stats and this ability, it's an 8/10. Higher than what we've seen, even in Master at Arms. I mean, you could argue that, it's 9/9 for 8/10, but, still a viable option for Vikings to throw in Ragnar there. Anyway, next change. Kind of forgetting them at the top of my head. Oh yes, Merchant's Estate. Let's go over to there. Now, this card didn't change in ability. Of course, I talked about the cost increase. It's now 2 gold. Longer to get it out. You may have to use the medallion to get it on the field if you're a red player. If you're red. I think this change is generally okay. If you're trying to put a stop to Greed decks, this may be a good start as well. You're still gaining the gold, of course. There's no change there. The health hasn't changed at all. But if you take away the 1 cost and increase it, it's going to take them more time to get themselves started, which can be used for the opponent to really start moving in, doing some damage, and they might already be on top of you. So good change there, especially if you're trying to take out Greed decks. And before we get into the other changes, I kind of am sad that they targeted Greed. It was my only big working deck. As you can see, I've been experimenting with other stuff here. I have one here and one over here. Both kind of fit what's going around right now. So I still have to do some more testing with that. Anyway, back to the changes. Next up is Captain. His stats were changed. He's now 1/3, sort of like the Mage Apprentice now, and he's gaining 3 gold. So now he's back to being a free unit to play down. You throw him down, you instantly get the 3 gold back. This is going to help people who play Kraxus, in the possibly Crusader Pirates variants of Greed. Um, the stats lower its kill potential though. Having it at 2/2 really let it do some good damage. 1/3 is okay. Um, I just think maybe his kill potential now has been decreased. All right, moving on. Next on the list is the Salahar Soldier, if I could find him. Um, as you can see, if I'm able to find him anytime now, here he is. He's still got the same ability and the same cost, but his health has been decreased before. Now, this is what I'm talking about. This shows that Greed is technically not dead as a deck, because you still have cards like Salahar Soldier, which can pull off some big plays, big early attacks that may give you the game, depending on how much damage you could do. Like, throwing him out one turn and then having some teleport captains in your hand, and that's going to do at least 9 damage, depending on how many you have. If you have 2, it's 9 damage. 1, it's 6 damage. All 3 is 12 damage. So it really shows that Greed is not entirely dead. Next, moving on to Talavos. Talavos was a pretty handy card, in my opinion, for Greed decks. His deal 1 damage to all enemies around was really sort of useful in clearing some board. But now he's a heal for 1. This maybe, it's a good change of trying to lower the greed potential, but in my opinion, I don't like this change as much. Healing 1, so you can't go above 7 health, is what they're saying here. If you give him some attack buffs, then you should be fine, but, keeping him at 3 attack and then healing him only for 1. Now, keep in mind, you can't go across, or you can't go above the 7 health unless you have some health buffs on him, but this card, I think, really dropped in value. Alright, I have to go back to the notes here. Oh, okay, so now we're kind of out of the greed, and now we're going into some of the other changes. Starting off with some of the night spells, the Plea of Righteousness was hit. I like this card now as it is. I think it should be 1/2 instead of 1/3. 1/3 kind of put them at a different level, so if you happen to play 2 of them at the same time in a night deck, you'd basically be unstoppable if it was 1/3. You guys would get 6 attack, plus whatever they're already at, because Knights already have a decent amount of health on them. 5 for Reckless Knight, 7 for Zealous Knight, Dawn Swords at 7, Earth Knights at 5, Door Knights at 7. So I think this change at 1/2 is a good way to alter Knight decks, but not completely kill them. It still puts them at a decent level with everything else, and this not taking any value away from this card is pretty good. But I think giving it the 2 instead of the 3 was just a way to balance it out. So I like that change. Good change. And pretty much the same thing I'm gonna say for wherever it is. Last Stand. Yeah, giving it 2/4 is better than 2/5. Giving that 2/5 was making it seem like these knights were invincible at that point, and you couldn't do anything to stop them. So 2/4 kind of lowers that win potential. Like it gives you the game. It lowers that kind of standing, but doesn't devalue the card itself. So again, pretty good change on that. Next, moving on to the Eye of Dominion. Now, Eye of Dominion, there were arguments to, do a whole revamp with this card, but this was the change. It's now become a placeable tower, so you're not placing it anywhere in the middle of the map. So you kind of can use it as a defense or even an offense if you have the Wind Mage and stuff like that, because I think this card still has great synergy with the Wind Mage. It's immobile, of course, like last time. It's sluggish, so now you have to wait a turn before it really activates. And the the last part's important. Cannot retaliate. Now, a problem with the Eye of Dominion was when it got the 5 attack, you really couldn't touch it because then you would, depending on the character's health or your unit's health and whatnot, you would kind of just lose all your units to the eye. It cannot it being not able to retaliate is a good change, and at 5 health, makes it easier to kill. The 7 attack, okay, I have to see that balance out in the 3 gold. Yeah, I think it's a bit high for its gold tier, but kind of you can argue that for King Crab. But overall, Eye of Dominion, not a necessary change, especially with the stuff we're dealing with now, but good either way. And the final card that was hit, sort of a cosmetic thing, or not really cosmetic, but something that didn't really affect anything overall was the Salahar Rider. It's simple increase to 4 health. Okay, that's fine. Nothing really to go on big about there. Just now it has some more early game potential at a 2-4, and it makes it a tougher unit to take out. Alright, and that is the Greed Hotfix. Now, if you want to share your opinion, go ahead and leave a comment on my Twitch page or my YouTube under the video in the comments section below. I don't know when I'll be back with a much bigger stream. My schedule is starting to fill back up again, so streaming may be harder for me. I'll try to get it done when I can. But, and of course, as the days go on, maybe I'll make this a series, in a series of short videos, bringing you guys hotfix or patch note news, and just generally discussing what's going on in the world of Cards and Castles. Alright, so with that being said, if you like what you saw and want to see more of my content, please go to check out my other videos on my Twitch or my YouTube. And until next time, guys, stay gaming.